Hello and welcome. My name is Lexi Jong and here I like to talk about luxury beauty. Today we are going to be talking about a variety of new products, but the star of the show is going to be the new Dior powder foundation. So let's go ahead, go over to the get ready with me portion of this. You can see all these products in action, and then we're going to come back here and talk about these products and do a few comparisons as well. We are starting off with the new Dior Forever Natural Velvet Powder Foundation. This comes in 16 shades. We'll talk about this in a little bit, but you can see that the actual size of this compact is a little bit larger than the traditional eyeshadow compact. This is one of the eyeshadows compared to the powder foundation. And I have shade 1.5N, so 1.5N. And when you purchase this, you get a full-size mirror. There's also a little plastic tray to keep the powder from getting on the mirror. And it comes with a dual-sided sponge. So the sponge, both sides look the same, but one side is more of your traditional flocked sponge, that has a little bit more grip. And then the other side is very smooth. So application is actually recommended to put it on with the rougher flocked side first, and then you smooth it out afterwards. So we're going to do a side-by-side comparison of that application versus a brush application. Let me move you in closer. So we're gonna start on the right side. We are gonna go in with the sponge and just kind of tapping this underneath the eye. You can see the coverage going on. So this is the coverage with the flock side versus nothing on. And I don't think that you need to have a primer with this foundation, but I think it is important to make sure that your skin is well hydrated. So either recently applied skincare or add a primer because you do want some moisture in your skin. So this is it with just the flock. Let's smooth it. So now I'm taking the smooth side here, just going to smooth this out. And you can see that this color 1.5N is my closest for Dior, but like all Dior foundations, they run a little bit warm. So it is a little golden for my skin. Okay, so here it is smoothed out versus nothing. Let's do the brush application. All right, so I'm using the Chanel oversized kabuki brush that came out with the Les Beige collection. I've used several different powder foundation brushes with this, and you get a pretty similar effect with all of them, but I have noticed that some of the more dense brushes actually end up making it look a little drier on the skin. So this is the powder with the brush versus the sponge. I'm gonna bring you in closer. So brush side, sponge side. All right, so again, sponge, brush. Let me know which one you prefer, but I can tell you my thoughts on these right away. I can definitely get much more coverage with the sponge, but because this isn't the perfect color match for me, that is also a little bit more evident with the sponge than with the brush. Now, using different brushes, as I mentioned, I have used brushes that are more dense. Notice that this brush here, there is a lot of flexibility here. I think this is really a great combination of what you need in a brush application for this product. When you go in with something more dense, for example, I use the Wayne Goss Holiday brush. This one here, you can see that there's not quite as much movement with these bristles. When I apply this, I do get more coverage with the denser brush, but it actually looks more powdery on my skin, and it takes a little bit longer for the natural oils in my skin to kind of react with that and make it look smoother. So I feel like application wise, you either want to go in with a brush that is dense yet flexible, such as this Chanel Kabuki, or you want to use the sponge application. Other brushes, I haven't really enjoyed the final look as much as I have with this one, but my preferred method is the sponge. So I'm just going to go ahead, take a second and just kind of make sure both sides are the same. And look how nice this powder foundation actually looks on the skin. So let me bring you in closer one more time so you can see it. Look at this. I think it looks really nice on the skin, really natural. And, you know, it doesn't look powdery. It's sometimes, you know, if your skin isn't properly moisturized, it'll look powdery until your natural oils react. That has taken me no longer than 20 minutes. And then you kind of get this same finish. And I think it's just a really beautiful finish. Now, oftentimes with powder foundations, cream products don't necessarily go on and look as good on top of a powder foundation as they do on top of a cream or liquid foundation. So we're going to test that out today. This is one of the new Melt Cream Blush Lights. So last year they came out with these cream blush lights. There was one in particular that I really loved. It was like this peachy shade without shimmer. The majority of their shades had shimmer, but they released 2 new shades. One without shimmer. This is Pink Sand. So we're going to go ahead and apply this one. So I'm taking the Sonia G Classic Base. I'm going to just dab this in here. And I don't even know why I tabbed that off. Just have it. Just go ahead and put this on. I'm wiping off my brush on the cloth on my lap. And just going to kind of stamp this out. Let's add a little bit more. And you can see I applied quite a bit here just so you can really see the color and how it performs with the powder. So you can see that even a cream product on top of the powder foundation looks good. It doesn't actually disturb the powder. It doesn't pick up any of the powder or shift it around. And it goes on to the powder without, you know, sometimes they can mix and then the cream product ends up looking powdery or grainy. And that's not the case with this. It really does end up becoming one with the skin. We're going to do a powder on this side just so you can see it. I'm taking the Tom Ford Duo in number 1 Brazen Rose. I've been using this one a lot. This is the Surratt cheek brush. Let me bring you in. All right, so here's the powder versus the cream. So I think both powder and cream blushes end up looking great on the powder foundation. I'm just going to even out the cheeks, Spirit back. All right, and then for highlighter today, we're taking the Cle de Peau in 201. This is the Sonia G detail brush from the Lotus set. Just going to go ahead and apply a little bit of this. And you can see it gives kind of like an icy pink glow to the skin. Really, really enjoying these new luminizers. I did pick up more. We will be looking at those soon. Not today, but another time soon. And I also wanted to share with you this brush set I picked up. This is one of the eye sets from Tanseido. I picked this up from Fude Beauty. And these are Fude brushes. They're made in Japan. They are undyed goat hair. And so you can use them with liquids, creams, and powders. Now, this little brush set does come with a little case. So you can put your brushes in here, little storage envelope, and you can see that they are longer handled. We'll look at some comparisons in a little bit. Along with this set, it does come with, you know, a few little papers. You know, they are in Japanese, but you can see, you know, the placement and so forth of how they are recommended to use those brushes. So we're going to be using these, and we're going to use the Dior Grand Ball palette. This is $5.39. It's one of the permanent palettes. It's new to me though, so picked it up. I think I've swatched it in a video, but I haven't gotten to actually use it yet. So we're going to do that. First, I'm going to add my eye primer. I'm using the Viseart eye primer. So the eye brushes are not numbered on the actual brush, but on the pamphlet, the largest one is 1, and the smallest, the kind of liner brush, is 4. So this one here is brush number 1. It is our largest brush. You can see it's kind of a nice flat paddle shape. And I'm gonna go ahead and start this off. We're gonna go into this shade here. All right, so I messed up a little bit. You can see some glitter on my eyes. I went into this shade here, and let's just do it again so you can see it. I started to wipe it off and kind of made a mess. But you can see this is going to be your sparkly like topper shade. And it's a little bit more sparkly than I expected. A lot of times the toppers are a little bit more scattered than this. You can see this one actually has a lot more to it. So I had intended on going into this satin shade. So let's go ahead. We'll just put this on top of that and see how it goes. Ooh, I like this color. So you can see this brush has a lot of movement to it, and it really covers the entire lid space really well. Look at that gold. Let's go into brush number 2. This one's a little bit smaller here, and we're gonna go into this gold shade here next to it. So I'm gonna kind of start in the middle here and work out, but I'm patting it over. So about 3/4 of the lid kind of have this gold. And then I want to go in with the white, and we're going to put this kind of just right here, kind of leading up to that. Moving on to brush 3, smaller shader style, we're going into the deep brown in the center. Just tapping it off on my cloth here. Just gonna add a little bit by tapping on the outer corner here. And I'm dragging a little bit of this into the crease. We'll clean up the crease in a bit. And then I'm taking brush number 4 in the deep brown, and I'm just going to use this to kind of line the lower lash line, the outer half. And let's actually line the top with this as well. And I'm gonna go into this gold with brush number 4 as well. And this is gonna be the inner portion of the lower lash line, and I'm gonna overlap them here. So I'm taking brush number 2, and I'm just kind of patting over where the dark brown meets the gold there to just diffuse that a little bit more. And then I'm going to use the tip of this in the crease to kind of drag that deeper brown over. And I'm turning it now to just kind of diffuse everything a little. All right, so that is going to be my look. I feel like I need a little bit more of the deep brown on the upper lash line here. All right, and I'm taking brush number 3 into the white. I'm using the clean side. And I'm just gonna put this up under the brow here, just kind of blending those together a little. All right, so while you're in close, we're going to also try out the Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk mascara, and in the shade Dream Pop. So this is the colored mascara. It's kind of like a maroonish brown. All right, so we're looking at this. It's the Pillow Talk Push-Up Lashes. And again, the shade is Dream Pop. So here is the wand. You can see that it is one of those like nylon bristled wands. And let's take a look. Nothing versus the mascara. And then for lips, we're going in with one of the Dior Addicts. This is 527 Atelier. And I'm just going to trace the outline of my lips with the Givenchy lip liner in number 8, Parma Silhouette. All right, so this is the final look. Let me know what you think down below in the comments. Let's go ahead and discuss the products. All right, so let's start off with this foundation. So the foundation, you have your traditional navy blue Dior compact with the silver push button, just like the eyeshadow palettes. And as I showed you in the demo, the eyeshadow palettes are a little bit smaller. This is, you know, maybe a little bit more than ½ an inch difference here. And the actual compact, the depth of it, they're about the same, but you can see the height is also a little bit, it's a little taller in the powder foundation. So inside we have a full-size mirror. We have a flocked sponge that has the more rough side and the smoother side for application. We discussed that, so we're not going to go over that again. And I did want to note that this is a refillable compact. So this actually just pushes out. You don't even need like a little circle or anything. You just actually punch it through and you can just snap a new one into this. So this is the Dior Forever Natural Velvet Transfer Proof Powder Foundation. This is the first powder transfer proof foundation. So I had to test this out. And just so you know, this retails for $60 in the US for the compact and the powder. If you purchase a refill, you get a new refill pan plus a new sponge for $44. So I've been using this on and off for the past 2 to 3 weeks. And you can see here that I've definitely used it. The logo is almost gone here. We have shade 1.5N here. It has a 1-year shelf life and it's 10 grams of product. Let me just go ahead and swatch this for you so you can see what this looks like. So here's a powder swatch. And this is 1.5N. And you can see that it has a little bit of a peachy, warmish tone to it. I wouldn't say it's completely neutral. It leans a little bit warm, as all Dior foundations do for me. Before we continue talking about the Dior, this is the only comparison I have for a powder foundation. This is the Suku powder foundation. It's the Glow powder. And this is also 10 grams of product. This is the lightest shade they have though. And this is 210. Well, they also have the 110, which is the warmer version. This is also not a great shade match for me. So you can see the difference here between these. The Suku actually looks a little bit lighter. This is supposed to be their cooler tone version of their lightest shade. So this is basically my foundation of comparison between the two, is how the Suku performs, because I've been using that since that came out about a year ago. So a little bit about this Dior foundation. It has 90% natural origin ingredients, so they are promoting it as clean beauty, and it's supposed to have 24-hour wear. It's ultra soft and light, and it brings a naturally matte perfection to the complexion with a fine and creamy texture that lets the skin breathe while offering a comfortable feel that lasts all day. Very long sentence. That is directly from Dior. This foundation also has high coverage. It corrects blemishes, smooths and evens out the complexion. And because of the skincare ingredients they have infused in this foundation, which by the way are based off of floral care. So if you have any allergies related to flowers and things like that, you might want to check the ingredients on this. But the skincare ingredients are supposed to help improve the quality of your skin if you use this day after day. There are 16 shades in this foundation, and let's just see how transfer proof this is. So I'm not gonna use the cheek because I do have blush on top, so we're gonna go down here, and there it is. I mean, there's a tiny bit of powder right there, but not much. Let's do another swipe. And yes, you can see some powder coming off. Now that's with wiping. If you're just going to go ahead and wear a mask and you're not really like rubbing things against your skin, you really don't end up with much transfer. I have tested it and it's completely, I wouldn't say it's transfer proof, but it's pretty transfer resistant. So you're not going to get much transfer from it. And I think it's a really great product. I actually do really like this foundation, but I have to say on the skin, I do think the Suku Glow Powder formula looks a little bit better on the skin for more skin types than the Dior does. Now let me explain. In my opinion, and again, I have been wearing this for about 3 weeks most days. So I've really been testing this to see how it performs under different conditions. And this is gonna look the best, the most skin-like on days where you have high humidity or you have a very moisturized base. That is one of the keys to getting that natural look with this foundation is moisturization. So do you need to use a primer with this? No, you don't. It works just fine. It works exactly the same with and without a primer. However, you do need to have good moisture content in your skin. So either you want to freshly apply your skincare, you might want to add a primer to add some extra moisture, or you want to have like a hot, humid day, because on the days where the skin, my skin was a little bit drier or it wasn't as humid outside, I did notice that depending on the application, it did look a little bit drier and it could end up with a little bit of that powdery look on my skin for a little bit longer. Now, as I mentioned in the demo portion of this, I do think your application method is key. If you're using the sponge, it is going to look a bit better and more skin-like with the sponge compared to the brush application. You can also get more coverage with that. However, if your skin is dry, even using the sponge, you will see some dryness in my experience. So I do think that is key. And that's kind of where it differentiates from the Suku. I feel like the Suku kind of blends in. Now, one thing to note though is the Suku is a glow powder, so it's got some radiance, whereas this Dior is intended to be matte. So there is a difference in the finish, but I feel like the Suku ends up looking a little bit more natural on the skin in a wider range of conditions like humidity and so forth than the Dior does. So that's my one caveat with that, but I think the Dior foundation is beautiful on the skin. Moving on to the Melt Cream Blush Light in Pink Sand. I personally really love the formula of these cream products. They are fantastic, but they just don't have a large color range in the non-shimmery shades. And I find their shimmery shades to be a little bit too shimmery for me. So this is Pink Sand, one of the new shades, and you can see that it is going to be a nice, kind of like a medium pink. It's a pretty neutral pink. There's a little bit of warmth, there's a little bit of coolness, but they pretty much balance each other out, and I just think it's a beautiful shade. This has a very thin texture to it that blends out seamlessly and really lasts well all day. This is the original shade that I picked up last year in Honey Thief. I really like this shade as well. So I did want to compare them. You can see that Honey Thief is going to be a peachier shade. And I just wanted to make one comparison here. This is the Cle de Peau Holiday Blush from last year in 202 Joyful Pink. This was one that people, you know, they really wanted it and it was hard to get. And I wanted to show you how the pinks compare. So you can see that the Cle de Peau is going to be a cooler pink. Let's see if I can get that a little bit closer here. We'll put that right there. So you can see the Cle de Peau is cooler in tone than the Pink Sand, but I do have to say that texturally, these perform fairly similarly. I think this Melt Blush Light is, I wouldn't say it's quite as good as the Cle de Peau, but for a lower price point, this is, it's a really good substitute for the Cle de Peau cream blush, in my opinion. So the only problem, again, is the lack of colors. Now, all that being said, the Cle de Peau formula is still my favorite. However, this definitely goes up in my top few favorite cream blush formulas. So I think they are fantastic, and I really love their non-shimmer shades. And just a quick swatch of the Tom Ford Blush Duo in Brazen Rose. I really like this. I've been using this one a ton, but I typically use it here mixed. So let's go ahead and look at these shades. You can see these are going to be, you've got kind of this peachy shade, then you have kind of a dusty mauve. So mixing them together, you got a really nice mix, and I just think it's a really nice natural looking blush. I've been wearing this, at least a couple of times a week. So really enjoying this particular shade. Now I do have all of those Tom Ford blush duos, and I have a video with those. I'll leave that linked down below in the description box. So if you're interested in seeing like comparisons and so forth with those, definitely check out that video. And then we used the Cle de Peau New Luminizer in 201, Twilight's Glow. And I love this luminizer. This is another one that I've been using a ton. You can see it has kind of this white base. It's got this icy white base, but there's pink to it. It's kind of like pink ice. And I just think it's really beautiful on the skin. So I've been using this one a ton. Moving on to Dior's Grand Ball. This is $5.39. And this is one of the original new formula palettes that came out. It just, I didn't get this one right away. Let's go ahead and swatch this. And I have to say, this is a really great classic color story. You've got shimmery shades here. So this is that top shade that I used kind of all over my lid in the demo. I didn't realize it was going to be quite as shimmery as it actually is. And then we have that white topper shade. But you can see that this shade here goes on more pigmented with the finger application versus the brush application that I used. And then you have these beautiful satins, kind of like, this one's a little bit cooler in tone, more of a champagne gold versus more of a, I would say, a burnished gold. We have kind of this deep ember brown kind of shade. It's not a black. It's not even quite as dark as a true brown black, but it's a really deep espresso brown. And then this is kind of your rose gold champagne shimmer. And then the white one here is a topper, but you can get the white on a little bit more pigmented, as you saw in the demo. And when we went through this, I was using new eyeshadow brushes. So I have a bunch of new brushes. I kind of went a little overboard with the Hakuhodo brushes before the price increase. So I will be integrating some of those new brushes in, videos over the next few months. But this Tanseido set, I love the blue handles. I think they are stunning. And I just thought that this was a really great sized eye set. I mean, take a look at the size range here. They are incrementally getting, from largest to smaller, and they're all very, very soft, undyed goat hair, very soft. You've got flex and give with these. I mean, this works well for the crease as well. So does number 2 here, but you can see how easy they are to use. And because these are undyed, you can also use these wet with liquids and cream shadows as well. And I have used them that way. And I think this is just a really great versatile eye set. It would also make a really nice gift if you're looking to give a gift of eye brushes to somebody. I think this is a great set. So let's do a few quick comparisons. This here is the Tanseido number 1, your largest brush, next to the Esum W23. So you can see that this is a lot larger. You can see here that the Tanseido kind of has more of a flat top here, whereas the Esum is a little bit more rounded. And just look at that size difference there. And this, by the way, is the height difference. So the Esum brushes are a little bit longer than the Tanseido. And then if we were to add in another brush here, just for reference, this is the Chantecaille Shade and Sweet brush. And here is a Sonia G soft shader. So you can see the handle length differences between all of these. Now, I feel like these two brushes, let's take a look at those with brush number 2 from Tanseido. And let's just bring these all to the same level. Let's put the Chantecaille on this side here. So you can see shape-wise, the Chantecaille is a little bit more similar in size and shape of the brush head, but notice that the Chantecaille is a little bit thicker than the Tanseido brush. You can see that the soft shader from Sonia G, it's a little bit more rounded. It's smaller, but it's also going to be a little bit wider here. Adding in the number 3 from Tanseido here, you can see that this is going to be smaller. Let's put this one next to the soft shader on its own. You can see it does have a similar shape to the soft shader. Again, it's still a little bit flatter at the top. It's going to be much smaller. It's shorter, so it's going to have just a little bit more sturdiness. Let's take a look at a few others here with this. So this one here is Sonia G Builder Brush from the Lotus set. You can see this is going to have a flatter top, but notice the width is going to be a little bit thicker with the Sonia G, but we're looking at a more comparable size comparison here. And then if we are taking, might as well take out this soft shader. You can see the soft shader is going to be significantly larger all around than the Tanseido number 3. And this here is the Smudger 2 from Sonia G, which is going to be, you know, completely flat on the top. It's a little bit wider, but kind of tapers. And then I wanted to compare this with the Tanseido number 4, which you can see is going to be even thinner. And again, it's going to be smaller overall in comparison. But this one made me think more so of the Sonia G Flat Definer, which actually is a little bit bigger, but notice the shape is going to be pretty much the same between the two, but the soft definer, or flat definer rather, is going to be wider, and it's just a little bit bigger overall. And next up, we have the Charlotte Tilbury Mascara. This is the Pillow Talk Push Up Lashes Mascara in Dream Pop. And I did do a comparison of this with the Dior video with the new Dior Red Mascara in Brick. And the colors are a little different. You can see this one here is actually going to be brown with a little bit of a burgundy red in there, but it's really more of just a reddish brown. There's not a ton of color, which makes it a little bit more everyday, but it does have a little bit of a pop, and I like it. So between this one and the Dior, let me swatch that. Here is the Dior, which is going to be a little bit more red. And the formulas, I would say, are pretty different between the two of them. The Charlotte Tilbury I just find to be a slightly smoother formula than the Dior, but I really love the color of the Dior, and I like how the color itself, you know, it adds a little bit more pop with certain shadows that you're wearing. I really actually enjoy pairing it with the blues in the Gucci palette. I think it goes really well with that, whereas the Charlotte Tilbury just looks a little bit more ordinary on the lashes, but I do like the formula of it. And last up, we have the Dior Addict Shine lipsticks from Dior. And this one here was 527 Atelier. And here is a single layer of that. And let's just build that up. And this is what I have on my lips. I really like these. They are smooth, they're creamy. They're not super long wearing or anything, but they're a nice shiny lipstick. Lip balm lipstick hybrid, and I love pairing it with this lip liner. This is my most used lip liner right now. This is Givenchy number 8 Parma Silhouette, and I've really been wearing this one a lot. I've also been wearing number 9 a lot, but this is my go-to everyday lip liner. So that's everything that we used today, and I have to say I do really like all of the products that I used today. I think the Dior foundation is a really great powder foundation. I have a hard time finding powder foundations that I like. And I would say, again, in summation, I still prefer the formula of the Suku powder foundation, but the Dior is going to be a go-to for me because the color does look a little bit better on my skin when I layer it up. And, you know, I think they're both great options, but the Dior definitely has some things going for it. So I really like it. I wouldn't say I love it more than liquid foundations and how they look on my skin, but it's definitely going to be a go-to, and it's one that I keep wearing. And after you have it on your skin for a few hours, I think it's really hard to tell whether it's a powder foundation or a liquid foundation. Now, as far as claims of being high coverage, I give it more like it's high coverage for a powder foundation, but it's definitely not high coverage compared to a full coverage cream or liquid foundation, such as like the Cle de Peau Radiant Cream or something like that. That's definitely going to give you more coverage than the powder, but it gives you really good coverage for a powder foundation. So overall, I think it's great. I really like how you're still able to wear cream products with it without, you know, any noticeable discernment there. I think it's a really nice product. I love the new Melt shade in Pink Sand, the Grand Ball palette. I can't believe I waited so long to try that. Overall, I think everything was great. So let me know your thoughts down below in the comments, and I will see you very soon. Have a wonderful day.